Start. This is a question I get, and I'm going to be showing you how I respond to it and what you can do. I just cannot start. I'm a Stanford PhD, and I coach CEOs on what they should do to make their lives and their workplaces better. I don't usually wear a t-shirt when I'm coaching CEOs, but I'm wearing a t-shirt to talk with you today. Here's a question that I often get from CEOs that I work with, from colleagues, from myself, and from everybody who is starting a new thing. I just cannot start. I don't know what to do to start. It's going to feel lousy to start. So today I'm going to give you 3 things that you can walk away from here today with and actually have the ability to start. So I think even the question that people sometimes ask themselves, it's sort of, I hate to say this, but the wrong question. So a question that people sometimes ask is, why does it feel so lousy to start? I want to start this exercise habit. It feels lousy. I want to start recording on YouTube. It feels lousy to start. I want to start calling my friends more, but just starting. I want to get out the paintbrush and paint. It will feel lousy. And that's part of what I'm going to share with you. But how do you get over it feeling lousy? That is the answer. I don't know if you've been struggling with that, but today I want to give you a real answer, something that you can put in your back pocket and walk away with and do something with. So we are going to have 3 things for 3 actions for you to take, 3 beliefs for you to take on so that you can start something without it necessarily feeling as lousy as it might. I'm going to start with my own example. In fact, why should this particular episode of Live with Senia Maymin, why should this episode be called The One with the Wet Hair? Actually, maybe you can't even see that it's so very wet. The reason this is the one with the wet hair is that's my whole point. Just start. Don't wait for your hair to dry, for you to, as I joke about in a different video, to iron out the wrinkle on a t-shirt. Just don't wait for things like that. So as I wanted to get out these things that I am also struggling with, I wanted to just give you the ability to go. But the problem is sometimes going is hard because you haven't set the foundation for going. So let's dive into it. Here are the 2 things I want to do more of, and I will use this as an example in sharing these 3 ideas with you. Let's call them tools, and sharing these 3 tools with you. My 2 goals are, there is a new physical activity that I've gotten trained in. It's called Animal Flow. It's beautiful. It's fantabulous. Just look up the words Animal Flow on YouTube. It's so beautiful. People call it a combination of yoga meets breakdancing. I am a certified yoga instructor, and I would say when I do Animal Flow, I'm more on the yoga side and less on the cool breakdancing side, but I want to get there. So this is an athletic thing that I have now been trained in, that I need to pass my test in and then train others. So it's a sport. It's like going to the gym for a certain workout. Maybe one day I will teach this class at the gym. That's something that I want to do more of in my life. I got trained a week and a little bit ago, and I've been doing it a little bit in terms of practice, but not as much as I want to. So one of my things is Animal Flow. And the second thing is being here with you live. This is my first live show. I did a practice live run when YouTube had not yet let me go live. So this is my first live show. There are a lot of things that go wrong. Let me just tell you, I was setting up this little camera here today, and it fell, and it might fall in the middle of this show, but that's part of it. In being with me here today, I invite you to think of one thing that you want to do more of in your life. It could be work, it could be relationships, it could be yourself, it could be health. I highly encourage you to plan a health one. So in thinking about that, reach over to your glass of water and grab a glass of water, a cup of tea, but make sure you're drinking something as we're talking about this, because one of the main things you can do in your life is to continue good habits like drinking water. So take a sip of water as you think, what is the thing that I'm going to focus on as Senia shares these 3 tools with me? As I've been planning my Live with Senia Maymin program, I really noticed that I'm a little bit like a reverse Mr. Rogers. He takes his sweater off. He takes one off and puts one on. I will probably be drinking water and taking sweaters off as I show you physical moves during some of our future shows. In any case, let's play. You have your goal in mind, the one thing that you want to do more of. Like, we're not setting 10 things, we're setting one thing. The one thing you want to do more of. And now let's jump into our 3 tools for today. Please keep an open mind into how this specific tool fits for you with your one thing. And I will keep in mind how I can do more animal flow so I pass my test and start teaching these yoga meets breakdancing classes. Tool number 1. Tool/idea number 1. This is so true. I can't even tell you how true this is. Expect that it will feel lousy. This is going to feel lousy. Why? Tell me why in the comments. It's a live show. Why is this going to feel lousy? It's going to feel lousy because you don't do it a lot. It's going to feel lousy because you don't know how to do it well. It's going to feel lousy because you don't have time for it yet. You haven't planned for this new thing. It's so fun. I see my friends are noticing that I'm live and they're texting me, but I don't yet know how to see your comments live on YouTube, but I will figure that out for future lives. So to get more specific, it's going to feel lousy. It's actually just going to feel lousy, 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 lousy. And let me give you a specific example. My daughter was struggling with an activity at school. And let's call this, I don't want to give too many details because it's her own private information, but I'll keep it pretty general. She was struggling with the idea that there's going to be a field trip, and she's not excited about the way the field trip is going to go. Just the exact field trip she's not excited by. She's excited by where they're going to go. But she feels that some of the process and the planning and the actual itinerary may be less exciting. So we've been talking about this for a few weeks. This is a little ways away. And I realized it may feel lousy to her. It may feel lousy. And there's a distinction between that something may feel lousy because it's uncomfortable, it's not fun, but then later she may be glad that she did it. We're such complex personalities. We have such different parts of our minds and our hearts and our guts that some things may both feel lousy and feel good in the future, or even feel good in the moment but feel lousy in the future. We all know what I'm talking about, like when you eat too much the night before and the next day you feel blah. So what I suggested to her is to hold kind of, I didn't really phrase it in this way, now in hindsight I am, to hold both ideas, that it may feel lousy in some of the ways or the structure, but it may feel really neat and really interesting in terms of the content. I invite you to do the same. Your next goal that you're focused on, expect that it will feel lousy. And I really mean it. Like, don't discount this. It really will feel lousy. I'll give you my example. So this beautiful sport of animal flow, and again, just look up some videos. It's so beautiful, but it's so hard. Every time I practice on my own, there are these wrist mobilizations, and it's so effortful. And it's, truthfully, it's just not that much fun to do it by yourself. It's much more fun to do it in a group. So I'm doing the online training with the video, so I feel like I'm in a group. I'm showing it to my kids for now, so I feel like there's a community aspect, which is one of the most beautiful aspects of this sport. So I know it will feel lousy, and I'm trying different ways around it. That was tool 1. Tool 2. Oh, expect things to break. You may remember what I said a few minutes ago. I expect that at some point during this live with Senia Maymin, I don't know why I said that so deeply and so broadly. I feel like I should give myself a kick in the seat with this live with Senia Maymin. At some point during this program, this camera that I'm looking at, it's going to fall. It's just going to fall. It's set up. It's pretty sturdy, but it may fall. It fell in the pre-setup. Things are going to break. My microphone's not the best right now, but it will be over time. My notation system maybe is not the one that I will use when you watch episode 500. Expect that things are going to break. So there are 2 things that you can do if you expect that things are going to break. One is you can plan for that. And 2 is just having that expectation may feel okay, because when it happens in the moment, you're like, oh yeah, I get it. I knew things were going to break. This is just one of them. I can't remember which friend of mine, but some friend of mine said, look, to another friend years ago at a wedding. Look, you probably have three priorities at the wedding, like that this is going to go right and this and this. Assume that two of the three are going to go wrong. Just assume there's going to be an error or a mistake or a timing thing. So expect, I always like it on this side better. Expect things to break. I told you there were two aspects of that. One is you can plan for it, and one is just having that expectation gets you set up for it. The first that you can plan for it, this is beautiful research by Peter Gallwitzer, who I'll be citing a lot today, which is if you can expect the thing that might happen and plan for it, it just gives you so much more ammunition for that thing getting to the right place. That's not the right word. It gives you so much more leverage for moving the thing there. So I'll give you an example. If I don't want to do my animal flow practice, then I will play some specific music like Unstoppable by Sia, and also then I will turn on an animal flow that I can follow, a video that I can follow, and there's so many. So if I don't want to, if I know it's gonna be pretty intense on my wrists and on my body, if I don't feel like doing it by myself, then I can do these two things, the music and watching it. And I can also, if I don't want to, then I can also say, hey, Senia, do it for 5 minutes. Hey, Senia, do it for 10 minutes. So now what we've done is again on this side, we expect things to break, and that gives me two areas of comfort. One is I can use if then to plan for that, and two is when it happens, I'm a little ready for it. Okay, so we've now gone through expect it will feel lousy. We then went on to expect things to break. And now find your jam. So if you are trying to set up a new thing like I am with my practice of animal flow, find your jam. And I'll give you two different ways that you may find your jam: tiny versus strong, and more specifically, tiny habits versus start strong. All right, so we're going to get into good research here. In the future, I'll show the videos of them, or at least their photographs. There's a researcher at Stanford. His name is B.J. Fogg. He is a researcher on tiny habits. This idea that if you tell people, hey, just go, you're going to think this is weird if you've never heard this from me before. This idea, if you tell people, hey, go floss one tooth, and you tell them to just floss one tooth. I mean, what is that even, flossing one tooth? That doesn't even make sense. But if you tell them to just floss one tooth, and let's set those people aside, and you tell another group of people, suppose these are all people that don't enjoy and don't like to floss, don't enjoy flossing, don't want to do it. One group, you tell them, hey, go floss one tooth. Weird. And another group, you just tell them, go floss, like floss all the teeth in your mouth. If you were to compare these sets of people, B.J. Fogg's entire hypothesis and research is that the people who flossed one tooth are going to do it more. They're going to floss. 6 months later, you check in with both groups. The people who flossed one tooth are going to be doing flossing their whole mouth more. This is called tiny habits. And how this relates to what you may want to do is you can do something small. So I'll tell you, before I started doing this 15-minute live with Senia Maymin, gosh, I feel so goofy when I say the name of the program, but before I started doing this live program, I did so many short ones. Please take a sip of water with me. Enjoy. I did so many short programs. So it gave me the tiny start, the tiny habits, the small thing. That's one school of thought. And there's another school of thought. So this is the tiny versus strong. I'm in the tiny habits camp. I am tiny habits all day long. I love tiny habits. I love when clients of mine go for a tiny habit. I'm coaching a CEO and he says, hey, Senia, I'm going to run 5 days a week. And I say, how about you run 1 day a week? Or how about you run 2 days a week, but just tell yourself you're only going to go for 7 minutes total each time. There's a concept in psychology called minimal goal, a little like minimal viable product, minimal goal. And the benefit of a minimal goal is as soon as you meet it, you feel amazing and you want to do more. So I actually sometimes in coaching encourage people for the purpose that, like flossing one tooth will get them to be a great flosser in 6 months for people who don't like flossing. Start small. I'm a big fan of that. I fall into the tiny habits camp. At the same time that I fall into the tiny habits camp, let me share with you the start strong camp. So this is, you can think of one of the people who espouses this philosophy, William James, the great philosopher. But you could also think of things like Google's 10X and Moonshot projects. Like these are things where you want to go, woof, I'm going really far and really big. And the benefit of doing something like that, like if I say animal flow all the way, I'm going to do my exercises for minimum 20 minutes or 30 minutes a day. The stay strong. You feel amazing about doing it, but it's hard. It's actually, you kind of, your two minds are pushing against each other. But that may be your way. So to round this out, there can be the tiny habits way or the stay strong way. As an example, Gretchen Rubin, who I am a big fan of, and I can't believe I don't have one right at my hands, but in my co-author, Margaret Greenberg's book, Profit from the Positive, Gretchen Rubin wrote us an endorsement of the book, and wonderful person, Gretchen. So she has a theory of abstinence versus moderation. What's best for you? So in her case, there are some people for whom start strong and actually go big or go home. That philosophy just works for who they are. That's not me. So what I'm saying is find your jam, and your jam may be tiny habits or go all out. So what have we talked about? Because I'm going to round this out with a bonus suggestion. We have talked about you're starting something, like I'm starting my animal flow exercises. Expect that at times it will feel lousy. Not all the time, but some of the time. Expect things to break. Like actually, my quads hurt and my wrists hurt sometimes. That's okay. Then I take it easier the next day. And know that you can do it by finding your jam, which is perhaps tiny habits, but perhaps starting strong and just going strong. I want to end with one last concept for you, because for me, it makes a huge difference. There's tons of research on this, tons, too much to quote. Track your actions. This particular action of me doing a live with Senia Maymin, episode 1 here today, it's pretty trackable. Anybody can find it online. It's pretty trackable. For you, what do you want to be the way that you track things? And maybe it's privately. Maybe you create a spreadsheet, you just track when things are done. You've probably heard of the Jerry Seinfeld method of writing jokes, which is he doesn't skip a day on the calendar. Every day he marks with a big red X for the day when he did write a joke, and he just doesn't want to stop that streak. So keep the streak going. That's one way to track an action. So you could do it privately on a spreadsheet, on a calendar, on a streak, stickers like kids do, sticker rewards, or you could do it, so that could be private, or you could do it publicly, which is you could post publicly, can be with a group, an accountability group of friends. So a small text stream that you start with, hey, I walked 10,000 steps today. I walked 10,000 steps today. Quick check-ins. It can be that you post something publicly. Whatever it is, tracking is going to make you feel like you're following what you want to follow. It's just an extra voice to your subconscious mind. So we've got the 3 tools that we talked about, and we've got this bonus one of tracking. I'm going to tell you one last thing, and then I will see you tomorrow. I'm going to plan to play with you each day on live with Senia Maymin. You can expect that it may feel lousy. You can expect things to break. You can know to find your jam, whether that's the tiny way or the strong way. And you can track your actions, however you do it. I'm Senia. It's been really fun to play with you here, and I look forward to doing it again in the future. See you soon. Likely see you tomorrow on Live with Senia Maymin.